When was the last time you were curious about something enough to be willing to change your mind? Or I say change your mind, but at least be willing to change your mind. We need to practice that more, and that's a big deal.
Yeah. I think, the more and more people who were comfortable about expressing their ideas, even if they're not confident about their position and they don't have it all, worked out or, put together or whatnot. If they felt safe enough, if they knew they were being listened to, I think it just make a huge difference in, the general discord. But, it's real easy to default to just like, I'm going to defend my position and you're going to defend
or leave or just leave in anger.
It goes nowhere. It just simply goes nowhere. And one of the things that I really admire about your whole movement, can we call it a movement?
No, absolutely. I call it a movement. Hell yeah. Call it a movement every second you want.
Just like driving home this notion of being curious, being genuinely curious about things.
It's interesting to me. We live in a time where people have very strong opinions about law enforcement, but very few people actually sit down and listen to the people doing the job. Not the headlines, not the clips, not the comment sections, the actual human being behind the badge. And today, that's what this is about. This is Insights and Straight Talk, and what we do here 6 days a week is create a space where real conversations happen. Not filtered, certainly not managed, and definitely not packaged, just real. And what we're seeing right here in Mangum, it's something that I didn't fully expect to happen this quickly. Over 500 local subscribers just in the last few months. Just from this town. That's not passive viewing. That's a community walking up and saying, you know what? We want to understand what's actually going on. And when that happens, oh man, everything changes. Because when people start paying attention, when they start asking questions, when they start listening instead of assuming, you start to rebuild something that's been missing for a long time. What is that? Trust. And today, we're bringing in a voice that sits right at the center of that conversation. Sheriff Steve McMahan, 24 years in law enforcement, worked his way through every level: patrol, investigation, administration, and now leading as the sheriff of Greer County. In a time where expectations are high and resources, well, let's just say they don't always match that expectation. So tonight, it's about putting someone on the spot. It's about understanding what's actually happening on the ground. What does leadership look like when margins are tight? And where is the gap between what people think is happening and what actually is? Because here's the truth. If we don't hear directly from the people doing the work, we fill in the blanks ourselves. And honestly, most of the time, right, we get that wrong. So tonight, let's not do that. Let's listen. Let's ask. Let's understand. Sheriff, welcome to Insights and Straight Talk. I'm glad to have you here.
Well, thanks. I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. I've been looking forward to this for quite a bit. We talked a little bit during the Rattlesnake Derby as well. That documentary is probably about a month over. We have a meeting with the museum, and we're going to get a lot of history And then we're going to wrap that up, and probably in about a month we'll have that come out. But we talked a bit about what we're doing here, and just now when oh my God, we're already at 200 people. We haven't even started yet. We talked about kind of getting your journey. You know, some people have gone back to birth. I don't know if you necessarily need to do that, but what was the inflection point? What was the point at which you got on this path that brought you here to us today? Why don't you tell us some about your past while people were getting their coffee, warming it up, getting their tea, whatever it is?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm Steve McMahan. I 46 years old. I grew up here in Oklahoma. I actually grew up in Southeast Oklahoma. Lived here in Mangum at one time back in the second grade. So there's a lot of people here that actually went to school with and that are still around. And some of them we got into some trouble with way back then too. I'm not going to mention any names because
you know, isn't that kind of the case? I mean, it seems to me a lot of police. It's kind of like what you hear in the movies or see in the movies in like Boston area, where kids grew up on you know, either being on one side or the other, and then you know, you're growing up together, and somebody goes into law enforcement and somebody's on the other side of the track.
Yeah.
It's kind of that's the kind of the story you're talking about.
Yeah, pretty much. And so we're still friends today, and I enjoy being a part of this community. I actually moved back out here in 2002 and went to work for the Mangum Police Department. And that was
so you worked with the police department before the sheriff's?
Yeah. I
did not know that.
With the police department here for about 4 or 5 years. Dale Rogers, who's one of the candidates for county commission, was the police chief back then. And I applied for a job, and he showed up at my front porch and knocked on the door and asked if I could start on the 17th of October. And so I did. And the rest is history on that. And I've had the opportunity to do a lot of different things in this 24 years. I've served as chaplain. I've served as a police officer, investigator, patrol lieutenant, jail administrator. I was under sheriff here in Greer County from 2006 to 2008 with Sheriff Runyon back then. I've served underneath several sheriffs, 2 here and then 2 over in McLean County, 3 of which were retired lieutenant, highway patrol lieutenants. And so I learned a lot of great things from them. I have served on multiple boards across the state and been cross-commissioned with the U.S. Marshals, as well as the FBI on different task force and stuff like that.
Yeah, we talked about that. I thought that was interesting. Little side note or side question. I've noticed lately in town there's been a lot of state troopers. I've seen in town their cars, you know, state trooper.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they're not out of here, right? The state troopers are not part of your group,
No,
right?
No, they're state funded. And they just pass through town. They have different assignments, and some of them are assigned to different areas, different counties. One of the things that the state has tried to do is to make sure that they're involved in some of the school systems and being involved in patrolling some of the school areas from time to time. And so they have some guidelines there that their higher ups have given them.
Oh, so that's part of their regular routine. Yeah. I've only been here 8 months, so I'm starting to notice things that I wouldn't have normally noticed before.
Yeah.
And so that's part. Now, you say one of the sheriffs under your command works with the school directly, right? Isn't that under your?
I have 2. I have one that is here at Mangum, and then I have one that is over in Granite.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And they're the community. They're the community bridge between the school and the police.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And I did that in 2000. I think I did that in 2003 to 2005. And I'm DARE instructor certified, so I teach the DARE program. and I'm getting ready to send one of my guys to the DARE program. But I became DARE instructor certified.
The what program? What was that?
DARE.
The what?
The
DARE. Oh,
yeah.
the DARE program. Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
And so I did that in 2003 and loved it. And I think it's a vital part of and a vital resource that we can give to our kids. And so I'm sending one of them to that here in the next month and a half. And that'll completely change, how he does a lot of things and how he is able to, because they talk about everything. I saw a guy and he was from Minneapolis. He came down for the training that I was in, and you are given a card, like an index card, and each index card has a word on it, and you have to give a 2-minute speech on that word. Now this guy's 6'4". He's probably 270 pounds, but he is rock solid. I mean, he's got muscles in his earlobes, and
Wow.
And he has to get up and speak. He grabs his card and he looks at it for the first time, and he has 30 seconds to prepare. And he looks, and it's baby dolls. That's what he has to talk about for 2 solid minutes.
This big old dude.
Yeah. And so it challenges you and teaches you a lot of stuff, and it's a great program to have. But yeah, I've got a deputy in the school here at Mangum, a deputy in the school over at Granite, and have had for the last 4 years. In fact, we just solidified a contract for this coming year, so we'll have it for a 5th year as well.
Now you're saying you're having a 3rd DARE officer, somebody going to start in the program here shortly?
No, just one. One of my school resource officers is going to do the DARE program.
One of the existing school officers are now adding to what they're doing currently with the DARE. I didn't even realize the DARE program is still around. That's still a very active and viable. That's awesome. That's been around for a long time.
It's been on, and it has evolved. It's not. Oh yeah, it's not like it was, because I remember going through it when I was.
What's the difference? What's the difference? Let's
well, back then it was a lot of, probably like when you and I were familiar with it when we were in school. It was a lot of drug recognition, and
exactly,
they would get the briefcase and had it in there.
Thing was about, basically.
Yeah, and that's not what it is today. Now it's a lot of decision making, and it's really implementing into young kids about how to make good decisions and how to take accountability for them.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
that's important. Let's say that again. What is the DARE program focused on now? Say that again.
It focuses on teaching our students how to make good decisions, and then evaluating those decisions, whether they're good or bad, and then taking accountability for their decisions, as well as trying to find a way to make a better decision the next time.
Wow. So what is that?
And that could be applied. That could be applied in any area. I mean, drugs, alcohol, family, jobs, decisions that you have to make, in everyday life.
You probably heard. You and I have gotten to know each other over time, and a little bit. And you've watched the show a number of times, and that. Thank you, by the way. And in that. We have this Mangum 2030 project. Have you ever heard me talk about that? So it's got the 5 pillars, right? And then there's the Regeneration School project, which is adding a 5th core subject in school. I did not realize that the DARE program has really grown and expanded to the point where it's actually teaching what I think should be in the school system anyway. It sounds like it already is, which is preparing kids for life. You go through K through 12 and you get your education and you learn how to take tests, which school's important, absolutely, but it doesn't prepare you for life. What does the DARE program look like? What is that? So your officer will be talking to kids. Oh, by the way, do you know who this person is? Curious Mangumite?
I
Obviously, Mangum.
But good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Anyway, so what does that look like? So an officer goes into works with the school day in and day out, in what they do. I don't know exactly what that looks like. What does that look like? And then when they're teaching kids about decisions, what does that look like? Do they sit? Is there a period? Is there a recess? Is there a campus? Hey, come to the auditorium. The DARE officer is going to speak today. What does that look like?
Yeah. So the first part of that question, just the duties of the SRO, they are responsible for
SRO. What does that acronym stand for?
School Resource Officer.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so their duties is to provide safety and security for the school. And they work with administrative staff, principals, superintendent, teachers, counselors. They help with truancy issues. They're not there for discipline, but they're there to help handle any criminal aspects or activity that takes place, and to try to prevent that. And also to
being
prevent
proactive. Being proactive,
proactive,
talking to the kids on a regular basis. Hey, how you doing?
And a lot of people
Gotcha.
take those positions. And back then, when I did it, I didn't take the position; it was offered to me. I was young, and I got summer off, and so I was like, heck yes, I'll do that. And back then, it wasn't what it is today, as far as how busy they are. And these two guys, one of them has been in law enforcement almost as long as I have. He started right after I did, right here at Mangum PD. The other one is probably my youngest, least experienced, but he's still been with the department for 3 years now. And
That's your youngest, 3 years in the department?
Yeah.
So you've got a nice crew.
I've got a crew we have almost 200 years of experience between all of us. Now, a quarter of that comes from one guy, and Frank Bone. I don't know if he's watching this morning or not, but he's.
I met him the other day. He's a good guy.
He is.
I've met him a couple
He's
times.
got about 40. Well, he started in 1980, so 46 years of experience doing this job. So he does a great job for us. But yeah, we've got almost 200 years of experience in this department, and that's not something that you see very often, especially in rural Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's important. This town has always amazed me. In the short time that I've been here, relatively, obviously, but it's amazing how much people. It's amazing how much this little town is kind of in ways a big town.
Yeah,
a big city. It's the county seat. That's why you're based out of here, obviously. And but what's fascinating to me is we still have this small town, this small city environment, but we have some important stuff going on in this town, and it's a fascinating complexity that rural America has, the gift of being able to be, that little town that you grow up in, and your neighbors, and you're at the grocery store, and you're making decisions for people that
Yeah.
and that's not something you see like I come from Chicago, right? Well, I'm back and forth between Orange County, California, and Chicago. Both, you fly over them, and you can't tell where one city ends and the next one begins.
Exactly.
It's people on top of people. You don't get that feel, but you get it here, and it's fascinating.
And that's one thing I love about this office, about the group that we have. We are Greer County. I mean, we are absolutely Greer County. Every one of my people are either from here or live here, and whether it be in Granite, out in the county, here in town. And we go to church with those people. We shop with those people, with the citizens here. And, it's amazing to be able, and you said it best, you said that we make decisions that affect the people right here with us. And it couldn't be said any more true than that. And the decisions that are made affect us, and so it makes a big difference in how you serve. I've always felt that God has placed us here to be a servant, and He's given us a servant's heart. And I believe every person has that. You just have to be able to tap into it and find it.
Yeah, and that's how what you just said is the difference that I was just talking about. You're serving in a way. I mean, like Chicago, Boston, big cities, they have beat cops, right? So they patrol a certain area to try and create what you were just talking about, which is natural here.
Yeah.
It's just part of the beat cops. They patrol an area so that they can walk the streets and get to know the people. Here, it's naturally built in, right?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of what we have in this little town of ours.
Yeah.
Let me hit a couple of these comments because here, why don't you read this from Victoria?
Great energy on this stream. Keep it going.
Yeah. It's important. And then let's just hit another question, and then we'll go back and we'll chat a little bit more because I just want to knock a couple of these out. What's been the most humbling? This is a great question. Again, this is from the Curious Mangamite. So obviously, I'm guessing somebody here in Mangum. Hey, if you don't mind, give us your name, young lady or young man. What's been the most humbling situation? I love this question. You've encountered in your time in law enforcement. Now, that spans 24 years plus. Probably.
Yeah.
Where are you at now? 20? Is it still 24?
20. Yeah, 24. I'm finishing up my 24th year. Yeah.
All right. So in October it'll be 25. Then I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. In that time, you've been a police officer. You've been on patrol. You worked with the FBI. You've done some amazing law enforcement work, which we'll get into obviously more. But this question here: what's been the most humbling situation you've encountered during your time in law enforcement? And that spans over several different agencies, right?
I think I don't have to go back very far. There's been a lot. There's been a lot over the last 24 years, and there's no doubt about that. And there's been a lot that have a lot of situations and a lot of things that we've encountered or I've encountered that have kept me awake at night. And you see people all the time. They ask you, what's the worst thing that you've seen, or what's the craziest call you've been on? You couldn't imagine the craziest call. And one of them happened right here in town. There was somebody here over by, not far from your house, actually, about a block and a half away from you. They had 3 monkeys in their garage. They had pets. And they got loose one day, and we were chasing these things all over the place. And,
are you kidding me?
Oh no, that's serious. Yeah, that was about 20 years ago. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. But the most humbling, I probably just have to go back a few years ago. And Jackie Jenkins, he was the sheriff here before me. He was the lieutenant and then assistant chief when I started 24 years ago. And he's one of the ones that trained me. And he called me and asked me to come back here. Leave what I was doing over in the center part of the state, making good money, working for a big agency. I was patrol lieutenant over there.
Wow.
And he called and asked me if I'd come back over and be his undersheriff. And I said, you know what, I would love nothing more than to do that. And I came back and I worked with him for a couple of years, and then I had the opportunity to speak briefly at his funeral when he passed away. A couple of years ago, and that was probably, it's full circle, and I say that because the other day I saw his old patrol vehicle from way back when. Somebody sent me a picture of it. It's actually in Weatherford. I'm trying to talk to the guy to try to buy it, but it's an old white Bronco, kind of like O.J. Simpson's. And so I'd love nothing more than to buy that and turn that into the Dare vehicle. And be able to utilize that, because that's what Jackie did. He ran the K9 unit back in the day out of that, and I would love nothing more than to acquire that and try to put that back on the street here.
Wow, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
that would be awesome, man. That would be good. Hey, whoa, we have 400 people in the audience right now.
Well, good.
Say hi to your fans. You got a lot of fans.
I don't know about fans, but it's good. I'm glad they're here.
Well, yeah, it's hard for as I put if you listen to the opening monologue, there's a lot that we deal with that the society, but particularly law enforcement deals with, and not understanding what the job is actually about and what it's for, and there's a lot of younger generations that are growing up now and not having a history lesson about what this country is all about, and our laws, and you see on social media all the time how law enforcement really is getting, there was a day when people really understood things differently than they do today, and it's got to be a tough spot. Is it? Let me ask you this. So we're talking about Mangum. We're talking about rural America. You've been in big cities. You've been in small cities, right? Just like me. Is it different here as far as is it as, to me, it's, I have one of my sons is a sheriff in San Diego. It's California. And so they've been involved in a lot of this stuff that's been going on. San Diego's kind of a rowdy town at times, about certain situations. Is it different here? Or is it the same here where you still run up against people that just, they aren't thinking, and you get pulled over and you go through the process and you're done and you move on. You see on social media a lot, these clips that people won't roll down their window. I want to see a supervisor, this and that. Do you come up across that throughout the county, or is it better?
It's few and far between out here, and
that's good.
It really is. It's not like it, and every once in a while we'll have a First Amendment auditor that comes through, and I love those guys. I really do.
The way you put that.
You see some of the law enforcement across the nation, they just lose their ever loving mind when they have to encounter those guys. And I listen, most of the time we're all the same. And that's what even my jail staff, I tell my jail staff this all the time too. We are all the same. We're all one bad decision away from being in the same boat, whether it's on a traffic stop or on a criminal case or something like that. And you never know what somebody's going through, because when you encounter them on a traffic stop or on a call, if it's on a call, that could be their worst moment for the whole year. And you never know what they're going through, what they're facing. And so if you just treat people like people, I can count in 24 years, there's been 5 instances where I've had to have a physical altercation with somebody.
Okay, that's not bad, but still 5. That's not good.
And that is, and one of those was I was the backup officer, and so it wasn't even really mine, but I believe that there's an opportunity to have dialogue and conversation with people, and you just have to walk into the conversation the right way and realize that each of you are people. And whether that be somebody that won't roll their window down, okay, well, what's the motive there? Or somebody that has called because they don't get along with their neighbor, or they,
you probably that's probably more often than you'd like, that not getting along with your. I've seen that here myself.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. This town, Mangum, has, I think you hear people all the time talk about it. Just compare it to Mayberry,
I've heard that.
And so, I don't know. It has its ups and downs, and you have this small town feel, but you also have the restrictions that come with that, whether that be budgetary, business, there's a lot of stuff in there that is affected by that. And I also used to pastor, and I was a pastor of a church, and
Here in town?
No,
or
no, not here in town.
somewhere else.
Somewhere else, and I
Dang, dude.
I was an associate pastor here in town before I moved off and everything. But I've always said this, that the 7 dying words of a church, and you can apply this to anything. You can apply it to a department. You can apply it to a town. You can apply it to a family. We've never done it this way before. And if that is your mindset, then you might as well just shut the doors, because eventually, at some point in time, there's going to be somebody that's upset because there's a baby crying in the church, or they're upset because somebody colored on the walls or whatever. That stuff can be fixed. That kid's growing up, and that they are our future. And I think we need to do a lot of work as far as realizing that these same people that are standing in front of it, they're people. They face the same stuff that we face. And likewise, the other side of that, as far as the community and looking at a law enforcement officer, they are facing the same stuff that you face, especially if they're as active and involved in the community that you live in.
Have you ever seen the show? It's a new show out, fairly new. It's called the Madison.
I have not.
It's on one of the all these different shows are broken up.
I've got 2 young kids. I get a 2-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son, or he's about to be 4, and so I get like Bluey and Mickey Mouse and stuff like that. So every once in a while, I might get to watch a basketball game.
Well, the Madison, my kids are gone, out of the house now, so I get to watch what I want to watch now. It's kind of fun. But the Madison is this really interesting show. I watched the first season, and eventually the second season will come out. Really big actors in it. But what you said reminded me of a scene in one of those shows, and it was a police officer. Actually, it was the sheriff of this area. It's out in it's based out in like Wyoming, and big ranch property, kind of a similar feel to our town kind of thing. And anyway, the family flew in. They're a very wealthy family out of New York, living in a big city, and now they came out because the dad of the daughters and the wife, the husband of the wife, he passed away, and so. At one point, the girl got kicked out of the car. In other words, she said, "I want to get out." They got in a fight, and so she was walking. So the person that was driving them called the sheriff and said, "Hey, you might want to pick this lady up." Anyway, the whole point of my talk here is she said to him as they were driving, she said, I'm sorry, you're seeing me at my worst. And his comment back was exactly what you said. Very rarely do I ever meet people that are not at their worst situation in time. And that hit home what you just said, because as a police officer or a sheriff, I can interchange those terms, right? Yeah. You're dealing with people that are probably having one of their worst moments in time. And I assume that's part of the training that you guys have to go through in order to be able to react to people in a place where they are, so you don't escalate it, right?
Yeah, and everybody, I believe everybody, but maybe one of my deputies have gone through crisis intervention training. And so and that's something the state has mandated to try to, I think they have a certain percentage, maybe 75% of your department. I don't remember the exact percentage, but you have to have people that are crisis intervention trained for those very purposes. And in fact, I'm fixing to start working on my jail staff, because people in jail have crisis as well.
How many people so I know the jail is right behind City Hall, or not City Hall, but right behind the courthouse, right? You got the jail back over there, right? Yeah. Next to your apartment is the jail. How many people do we have? I know we have a jail. I just don't know much about it.
We have a capacity of 43, and right now there's 36 and 2 coming in, so 38.
Is that from the county?
Yes. Well,
people from the county or from?
No, not all of them. I have several. I have probably 10 that we are housing for other counties.
I've heard about this.
And
They pay us to take care of their
yeah,
prisoners.
they pay us to hold them.
Wow.
Then we have 13, I believe, that are waiting to go to the Department of Corrections. The state actually pays us while they're here after they're sentenced. And they're, whenever they say, hey, bring them, we got to take them up there. And so, but
Really?
that's kind of what our makeup is right now. And then we have some that are pre-trial, different stuff like that.
Quick question on that same thing. Are they opening another jail? The old, there's another building that they're expanding the jail into, right? Or are they just moving everything?
We're moving everything.
Okay.
We acquired the armory, the old armory.
Yeah.
A block from us, block east, and we're actually going to expand. It's going to be an 80-bed facility.
Wow.
And then
and that would be mainly people from outside that you've got agreements with other counties.
Yeah,
it's a good revenue source.
And that's how we have to get. I mean, that's how we're going to be able to pay for it.
I want to get to the revenue side of things
because the jail that we currently have is 106 years old, and
wow.
I don't know
what are you going to do with that building then?
I don't know what they're going to do with the 2-story portion. I know that it's going to take a lot of money to make it safe and continue the life of it for whatever reason they want to.
Oh, so it's in bad shape then?
It's in pretty bad shape, and I mean, I don't know. That's not my pay scale.
Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot at all.
No, but this office here, where my office is, our lobby and stuff like that, all that was built in 1983, and then this half of the building was built in 2000, I believe. And so this portion is in very good shape. But the 2-story jail portion has been here. We have the second oldest running facility in the state of Oklahoma. Second to Kiowa County, which is next door to us, and they're getting ready to move into their new one next month. And so when they move into theirs, we will have the oldest facility.
Be number one.
And that comes with a potential cost. At any time the state could come in and shut it down, and then
because of the condition of it.
Because of the condition of it, and a lot of stuff they don't really. Because we've been working towards a new facility, they've kind of been a little lax on us as far as getting some things taken care of, repaired, or whatever. But we have the new facility that we're working towards. In fact, we've got the funding for it. All the bids have come in for it. That is going before the Industrial Trust Authority next week for them to approve. And then we'll start construction.
Hold on. What is that? The
Industrial Trust, and basically it's a board that
here in town. Is it a town thing?
It's a county.
Okay.
County thing.
Okay.
And it's just a board that's appointed by the county commissioners to help with industry. And the county as a government cannot go into debt. We can't borrow money. We can't do those things. And so, but the Industrial Trust Board can. And so they actually went in and partnered with the county to make this happen, and have some great people on that board that have really bought into the plan and the project on this. Because the flip side of this is, if at any time they shut that jail down, we have to house our inmates somewhere. We have to, and it would cost between $650,000 and $750,000 a year to house them elsewhere.
Wow.
And that's housing them.
We can't afford that.
No. I mean, listen, we're the second poorest county in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We're
the second.
We're the second. Harmon County, right next to us, is the poorest.
Okay.
We have a taxable valuation of $34 million. If you took everything, it's $34 million. That's the taxable valuation. Wow. I have a budget. I have the lowest budget. I have the lowest general budget for a sheriff's office in the state. I get this last year I got $241,000 to operate
for the whole year.
For the whole year, to operate a jail and to run a sheriff's office. I get basically salary for 2.5 people, me, your neighbor, William, my undersheriff.
He's a cool dude.
And he and I, and then basically some part-time money to pay. And so, but now when I came here, we had 7 employees. When I came back to work with Jackie, when he called me, I walked in and it was just he and I on the street. We were the ones patrolling. And then we had 4 full-time jailers, and then we had a secretary, administrative assistant. And in that time, we have grown. I took over in 2023, April of 2023. So three years as sheriff. We've gone from 7 employees to more than 20 employees, and I have the same budget.
Same budget.
The same budget.
Okay, so that's what
you have to you have to be creative. And I did a news interview when I first came out here with the former editor of the paper, and I said, just because we're the second poorest county doesn't mean we have to operate that way. And so you have to find money. And so we have done since 2003. I'm sorry, since 2004, we have done about $300,000 in contract money with other counties housing inmates. That money can go towards the jail.
That's huge.
That money can go to pay for staff. That money can go, and if it wasn't for those, we wouldn't be able to have the jail, because I don't get the money from the general fund to pay for jail staff. If you don't have jailers, how do you have a jail?
Right.
And so then you have to force an ad valorem tax to get people to get the money, and it would take, to build a new facility, it would take raising our property tax 3 times. As a citizen here, I refuse to let that happen. And so we started looking at other avenues, which is holding for other agencies and
how did you work that out? How I want to get into some of the things that are included in your budget, and then there's some other questions, including Hannah here. Why don't you read this?
Oh, Frank is the best. Talking about Frank Bone.
Yeah. So do you know Hannah?
Yeah.
Gasto?
Yeah.
Am I saying that? Gastineau?
Yeah. She's a great friend of Frank's.
Yeah. And thank you for showing up and making your voice heard there, Hannah. So how did you work with these other 8? How did that all come about, where you were able to work out this deal, let's call it? How does that happen?
Having conversations. We had to, when I was at McLean County, at one point in time, I was the jail administrator, and we were using, and we actually had a capacity of 56 beds, but with like 3 or 4 casinos in the county, the tribal police, Light Horse, they were bringing people in right and left, and it was nothing for us to be over capacity. And so we had to reach out to places like Grady County, Canadian County, Cleveland County right next to us, Garvin County just to the south of us over there. And we had to farm those out or send those out to those counties. And of course, it cost us to do that. And so when I got out here and I started looking and talking to other counties around us, Comanche County over at Lawton, it's an hour away. They're housing inmates in 6 different counties across the state. At one point, they were housing one 3.5 hours away, one way.
Wow.
And so in order to transport somebody, they had to transport them 3.5 hours away. And if they had court,
and that's dangerous in itself. That's exposure, right?
And so you have those connections, or I like to call them relationships. You have relationships and with these other sheriffs, and you talk to them, and you just try to meet the needs that you have. And listen, crime's not going to go away, unfortunately. And I will say this: one of the biggest things that in my opinion, the state dropped the ball years ago, and they used to house state inmates, DOC inmates, in the county jails. and they would pay,
Department of Corrections.
yeah,
Gotcha.
and they would pay the counties to hold them. They stopped doing that a number of years ago, and instead they have, I don't know any other way to put it, but you got your buddies over here that have a private prison, and you'll spend $85 to $120 a day per inmate to house them over there, when it would cost you $46 to house them here. So
private prisons, are they still a thing?
yeah,
I heard about them a couple of decades ago, and then there was a lot of bad press about how corrupt and they're just bad things. I think everybody who's listening knows what I'm referring to.
They're fewer and fewer. They're fewer and fewer in Oklahoma. The state has actually gone in and bought a few of them, and taken them over.
Because of what I was talking about?
Yeah.
And the cost, obviously.
And the
triple cost.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, if the state would go back to doing something like that, man, it would be a game changer for a lot of counties, especially your rural counties.
Yeah, I mean, we need that kind of revenue. So what is your budget? So you said 200, I'm sorry, I forgot the exact number, 240,000, something like that, a year for your budget. Yeah. And then, of course, now you have the additional revenue, right, for the jails. That's separate, right? Isn't that separate? So the money for the housing the other inmates that are coming in from the DOC and other places, that money goes just to the jail system?
Goes just to the jail. That's the only place it can be used. It can be used to pay for jail staff. It can be used to pay for food, furniture for the inmates.
For the jail.
For the jail. Yeah.
And what do you mind me asking, range wise, what is that dollar revenue coming in?
It varies.
Right, depending on how many inmates.
On average, right now, between $15,000 to $25,000 a month.
Okay, so a month. Okay, so that's almost as much as the budget that you're getting for your apartment.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's got to be a big freaking deal, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's why I said without that, we couldn't have the jail, and we would have to send our inmates somewhere else, and then that would cost the county
more.
And the only way to pay
out of the budget. Right?
Well, we don't have the budget for that.
Right. You wouldn't.
Yeah. That is almost the whole budget for the whole county, what that would cost.
Wow. So how long until this new jail is, you said it's starting, they're going to have a meeting on it this month, it sounded like, next couple weeks. Once that approval happens, how long until the new jail is actually built?
Next Monday. Okay, so this has been 2.5 years in the making. My hair was brown. My hair was brown when it started, okay?
And now it's causing you to go gray, isn't it?
I'm telling you. And there was a lot of demo work that had to be done over there. We've done a lot. That's what I heard. And we cut a lot of the cost out of that. The bids, we did the bid process last month. Those bids came in a little higher than anticipated. You have to remember, this is something we've been working on for 2.5 years. And so the costs go up. And so the bids come in a little high. And so then we go back to the drawing board. Okay, well, what can we change? Okay, this pod over here that has individual cells, let's turn that into a dorm. What can we do ourselves? Signage, anything, painting or whatever. Generator, well, the bid for the generator was almost $200,000. Well, let's
wait. What would the generator be for?
For the jail.
Backup?
Yeah. And just in case there was a power outage. If something happens, it covers the jail, the dispatch center, the sheriff's office, because all of our stuff, office and everything, will be moving over there. And
so the whole department's moving.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so that whole process has been ongoing. We got the numbers down to where we need it, down to the approved budget that we have. And so all those bids are going to be before the Industrial Trust Authority
on Monday
to have them signed. And at that point in time, we're looking at, once they begin construction, 12 to 13 months turnaround.
Wow. So
And,
years.
and one of the biggest things that helps us is weather is not going to be a factor, as little of a factor as you might, because the whole thing is going to be contained within that building. There's not going to be anything added to the building. There's not going to be any additions or anything like that. It's all being done within the.
How many square feet? How many square feet?
The back portion is right at 10,000.
Okay.
And so it'll be an 80-bed facility. It'll have an activity room. I've got a lot of plans. There's no rec yard outside. It's all done inside. But I've got a lot of plans, man. Do
you need to do a rec out? Don't you need to have sunlight or?
And there's accommodations for that with skylights and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everything is going to be contained in the building. So there's no risk there.
Yeah. And
to us,
folks.
Yeah,
exactly. And
wow.
and so there's man, it's probably 40 years late, overdue, I should say. You figure something 40 years ago or even 20 years ago when the jail was 86 years old instead of 106. And when
is that what the jail is now? That building is 106 years old now.
Years old, yeah.
Wow, it actually looks pretty damn good for that. I only seen it from the outside, thank goodness, in a way. Actually, I had to come over and I've never been to your place inside. I walk by it all the time. Yeah. Because it's right here. I mean, it's right next, pretty close, on the other side of the square.
Yeah.
But that's 106 years old.
Yeah, 106 years old.
Wow.
It was built in 1920.
That's fascinating. In 1920, I bet you that was a big deal. Was it a jail back then? Was it built as a jail?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of buildings here that were different things.
Yeah.
Right. The bank was not the bank.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
What were you going to say? The original jail before that was actually built where the armory is now, and so it's almost kind of like going full circle.
That's what I heard. What I heard.
And so it's pretty neat. I'm a history person, so I love the history of it. I'm the 30th sheriff of Greer County. And so if you factor in statehood, 1907 to today, that's about one sheriff every 4 years. It's not a good deal,
No, it's not.
Some of them were.
How long have you been in office now?
I just started my 4th year.
Your 4th year now, and you have no plans on.
Oh yeah,
you're a young guy. You're a young guy.
Yeah, I'm 46. I'd love.
Yeah,
I came out here. My wife and I, we've invested in this. My wife is presently, she's currently a teacher at Mangum.
Is she really?
Yeah. She's been a teacher for the last. That's the only job she's ever had after college. I mean, she's done other stuff here and there, but 14, 15 years, whatever it is. She'll probably shoot me for not knowing that answer right away, but.
We'll keep it just between us.
Yeah, except I know she's going to be watching. So they're out of school today. So
that's right. Friday, I heard after what is it? After spring. Anyways, from now until the end of the year, Mangum, the school systems, they're
pretty much shut down every Friday.
Hey, did you? Oh shit, we got 600 people. That's nice. That's nice. Did you watch the boys baseball team go off to state 2 days ago? Yeah, we led the procession. You were doing the sirens, right? Yeah, that was cool. I watched that. Then they lost. We did that, and my I hated to see the outcome of that game. That was a crazy ending. I watched the whole game here on live, 97.7, I think it is. Yeah. That was a crazy game, man. We're up 1-0. Everybody's feeling good. And then we went down 4-1. And then it was 4-4. And then they got a run. So it was 4-5 going into extra innings. And then that dude got thrown out at third. I get why they sent him. Yeah. Man, that was a bummer, man. That was a bummer. It's rough. I thought we were going to win it. Yeah, it's a good group of kids. Good group of kids. It's fascinating how well and I mean, man, it's full circle. We talk about full circle stuff. A lot of those kids, their parents,
when I was the school resource officer, they were in school back then, you know. So
Wow.
again, you know.
Yeah. I feel you. I feel you. That is fast. Hey, let me ask you this question here. I want to put this one up. I think I had it up here. Oh, no, not that one. No, what am I doing? This is the one I want. What inspired you? Jim Carrey has a great question here. What inspired you? I know you got the call, right, from the old sheriff. But what inspired, why did you make that change from the big in central Oklahoma, the big job that you had and the patrolling officer that you did, probably a little bit more money, but what inspired you to come back and do that? When you got that call, what was behind the reason? I assume because it was Mangum.
It was Mangum. It was Greer County. My wife is originally from Cordell, so she's from 45 minutes away from here. So she has family out here. I have family out here. My mother and stepfather and my grandma were out here, and my aunt at the time. And so we had a lot of family out here. We also just found out that we were going to be having Eli, my almost 4-year-old son. And so being around family, being close to family, we felt like was very important. Just the small sense of family and unity within a community, which we both felt like was essential for raising our kid.
You know, that's something I think people have not thought enough about. I never thought about it, but growing up in this kind of community, living in this kind of community in a small town, small city type environment, it has its challenges, and there's only one grocery store in town, and we're kind of subject to that. I mean, the next town's like, I think Altus is probably, granted, but realistically, I think Altus is the next town, biggest to us, just south of us here, and that's almost 30 miles away. So there's some deficiencies. You talked about the budget. There's some deficiencies, but as a general sense, I could not have made a bet. I mean, I came here because of the show, because I wanted to be in rural America, more authentic, all that stuff. But since living here and never actually living in a small community before, this is a special environment, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Any small town is a special.
Oh yeah, and it's because a lot of what we've kind of already said, man. We shop together, we go to school together. We're at the ball games together. It doesn't matter what denomination you are. It doesn't matter what political party you are. It's the fact that we're rubbing elbows with each other and making things happen to make and keep our community a place that is a great environment for our kids, we want something great for our kids, and we want them to have a better life than we had, and I sometimes I feel like we've come close to dropping the ball. It's never too late. Let's fix it, and so whether that be here or nationally, it requires people taking a stand, standing up, saying, hey, here I am, send me, let me do it.
I think you're dead on. By the way, we've been going an hour already. Yeah. It doesn't feel like that. It's just kind of flown by. But you're absolutely right about that. And we have kind of lost some of that feel. And yes, parents all over the country or the world, they want what's better for the kids. But I think here it's more pronounced because we live in a small city. I tell the story, your undersheriff, my neighbor, great guy, awesome. Our dogs are best friends. So we see each other quite a bit because they like to play together. And we back up, we back up our properties against each other. One of the first days I was here, when I first moved here, I don't even think I knew he was I think I met him once before that. but I was, you know where Lincoln in Oklahoma is, right?
Yeah.
Lincoln in Oklahoma, the Total Fitness there.
Yeah.
I was in the court part, and I was walking over from the courthouse, and I was walking down the road, and I saw him. He was at that intersection, and he drove by, and I waved at him. You know, and where I'm from, where most people are from, you give them a big wave, and you know, you go about your hurried day.
Yeah.
Well, about 30 seconds later, I hear this horn honk behind. And I turn around, it was him. He pulled up. We sat there for 15 minutes, just shooting the shit.
Yeah. William
That's what I
has,
love about this place.
yeah, William has the gift of gab, for sure.
William is not a shy young man at all. He's a great guy.
Yeah,
Absolutely. He did not win the battle. He did not want to stay overnight in the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah,
But he had to.
He lost that battle, and
He was pissed.
he needed to, and
he should have too.
Yeah,
I mean, put a freaking pacemaker in this.
I mean, I miss him when he's not here, but I told him, I said, you better take care of yourself, and because William was my undersheriff once before. When
he was? I didn't know that.
Yeah, when I first became sheriff, he was my undersheriff. And then he and his wife, Michelle, moved to Kentucky.
Right.
And they were there in Kentucky for a while, and then he moved back. And the only job available was the emergency management position. So I talked to the county commissioners into putting that position underneath the sheriff, and I'll split the cost with them as far as salary, and then that way I can have another deputy. And remember, I said you have to be creative in how. If it was just me and William patrolling 650 square miles of county, I don't know that I would do it. I would, but Gray would be the least of my worries. I'll tell you that right now.
You'd be pulling your hair out.
Exactly, because that's how Jackie and I did it. The former sheriff, and when it was just the two of us, and so I've got 7 deputies that are on staff with me. And I only get the budget for William, and myself.
Wow.
And so I have 2 that are contracted with the schools. I have Frank, that is my environmental deputy. He works a lot with DEQ and handles a lot of trash dumps and
talk a little bit about that, because that was interesting to me. Go ahead and talk about what he does.
Yeah, he handles, right. If we get a call about an illegal trash dump, he takes a road crew out and takes an inmate work crew out, and they clean it up, and we bring it in and turn it into the recycle center here in town, and Frank does a great. We have cameras that we're able to set up. Man, we've had so many people. We've had so many people. I'll go to them. They'll dump a mattress or something, and I've got them on camera doing it. And I'll just, hey, you wouldn't happen to know, again, I got them dead to rights on it. I could just write the citation and call it good. But I was like, hey, you wouldn't happen to know about anything about a mattress being dumped out here, would you? No. I mean, not that I know of. Where was it? And I'd tell them, well, that might've been the one that so
they kind of slow walk their way into it.
And I was like, listen, man, look, I don't want to hem you up on it. Just, you got 30 minutes, go out there and go pick it up, and dispose of it the right way, because I guarantee you people out in the county that live 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 miles outside of town are not working their way to the grocery store and dumping their stuff out on the way, and so, we have a local recycle center here, man, and people, I've seen it. They'll drive right by it and go dump it out in the county in the ditch somewhere. And so Frank does a great job of trying to get that stuff corralled. And we've got, like I said, we've got cameras that try to catch some of those things. Some of them are very well hidden, and they're hidden as other things, like the phone boxes or meter boxes or something like that.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh yeah. I take it as a challenge, because I don't want anybody stealing our camera, and so, but yeah. And then I've got another deputy that's on a grant, cops hiring grant that we've had for for 4 years, well, 3 years, fixing to start her fourth on it, and that one was it just is available to go out and patrol the county, try to deter theft and destruction, vandalism, and we recently at the beginning of April we had a theft that was reported to us, had some tools and a couple of trailers stolen. You'd be shocked if I told you that that was the first report of a theft in 28 months.
Really?
We had one at the end of 2023, first of 2024, and we didn't get another one until in April.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a positive number.
Yeah, and it's just because my guys are out there. You know, they're out there patrolling, being seen. People know that we're out there, and man, we get calls about vehicles, you know, where they probably shouldn't be. And so, but yeah, we have 650 square miles of county, and you have 2 police departments that cover about a total of maybe 6 square miles of that. So 644 square miles or 640-ish
Are all sheriff.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me ask you, Victoria came up with another question here. What's been the toughest leadership challenge for you so far?
So
Leadership.
I have a guide, I guess it'd be the best way to say it.
A guide, okay.
That I go by, and it's easy for me to preach it to my kids. It's easy for me to preach it to my staff. But that rule, that guide is family first. You know, you take care of your family first. And I don't mean us. I mean your family, your wife, your kids. I had a jailer one day show up to work, and he's very committed. I mean, he's dedicated. Then I found out that his wife was in the hospital. She's pregnant and in the hospital. And I said, get your butt out of here. I'll sit here and watch the jail. You go be with your family, you know? And you know, and we've had to do that, but you know, we are family, and you know, what affects them, I make them take their time off. I make them spend time with their family. What they do with their time off is beyond me, you know, but I make it to where they are not working. This life is more than this job. It's more than this badge. And I spent a lot of years way back in the day. I can't tell you how many birthdays I've missed with my oldest daughter. And I can't tell you how many, and I had a son and daughter from that previous marriage that they were kind of my bonus kids. And I missed many birthdays because I was working a shift, and it's not worth it, man. And so if I know that they have something going on, if I know, listen, you go watch your kid play ball. You know, I want you to be involved. I've got deputies that are little league coaches. I've got deputies that are involved in the Rattlesnake Association. You know, I've got deputies that are involved in their church and all these other things. But family first, and the toughest part of that is when you have to say bye to them. You know, and because and I tell all of them this, and this was something that was used on me and said to me, and I failed, you know, many times. But it was said, remember what my name is, because it's your name too. And so I tell them when they're out in the community, you remember what my name is, because it's your name as well. Because whatever you do in the community, whether you're on shift or not, it's going to reflect back on the office. And you know what? This is my livelihood. And I put people in these places and in these positions that I feel like I can trust with my wife and my kids, because inevitably that's what it boils down to. And you know what? I want them to know that they can trust me with their wife and kids, or their spouse and kids, because you know what? We all, not to steal a line from a daggum Disney song, but we're all in this together, you know? And, you know, and so we, what we do affects somebody else. And so the toughest part of leadership is having that. I say this all the time. You have to base, and it was my former sheriff, one of my former sheriffs had this saying, you basically have to kill the Pope to be fired from here. Okay. So, and there have been some people that have put the crosshairs on the Pope, you know, as far as, you know, in that analogy. And it rips my heart out, you know, because I invest in them. I make sure that I have 24 years doing this. I started 24 years ago, and I would probably blow a lot of people away if I told them this, but I'm going to tell you, the guy that has been certified for 3 years has more training than I do, because I take what's mandated. I take, the state says you have to have 25 hours. I take all the other training that we have available to us, all the other conferences, and I send them. Why? Because I want, if OSBI calls, and if the FBI calls, if some other county calls or other agency calls.
OSBI?
OSBI, Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations.
Investigations.
Yeah.
Okay. It's similar to the FBI.
You know, like the FBI on a state level.
Gotcha. Okay.
If another agency calls wanting them to go to work, I want them to be qualified enough to take that job if they want it. And if they don't, if they choose to stay here, guess what? I have the best available right here for us. And that's kind of how I've done it. But man, I sure hate, because we do invest in those people. And anytime we have to let somebody go, and it just rips my heart out. And so as a leader, man, it tears me up.
So let's change it up here a little bit. So David's got a question here, as far as we talked a little bit about this, but how has crime changed in Greer County over the years? And he's saying recently, but let's expand that out a little bit. What is the different crimes that you? I mean, we talked about only the second theft in a couple of years, three and a half years ish. But what does crime look like today to you?
Man, crime back in the day, 24 years ago, it was somebody stealing something out of a car, and even 5 years ago. But with the way technology is, I mean, the crimes that we face today are the crimes that keep us up at night. You know, and to the point that one of the things that I did 2 years ago is I put a chaplain on staff here. And we have somebody to help talk to, and just have somebody that, and him and his wife are available for any of our staff members to just visit with, because I'll be honest with you, and it's probably always been this way. It's just stuff never was reported. But crimes against children, whether it be physical crimes, neglect, sexual crimes, man, that stuff is so prevalent today. And,
really?
Oh yeah. Even in a community like this, and
Nope.
my school guys,
Nope.
and I think I started to say this earlier. You would think that it would be like a cake job. You know, you're just going there, high-fiving the kids, doing whatever.
Yeah.
They stay more busy than the rest of us.
Really?
Oh yeah, hands down, without a question.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's more prevalent?
I think it's probably always been that way, but the reporting process is so much more. It's followed, you know, and school staff have been trained. Like, my deputies go in and visit with the school, with the staff. The school has training every year that handles a lot of that stuff. Even not just the schools, but the churches. You know, if you're involved with kids, you have it's mandatory reporting. And man, we don't take that lightly. And
That's good.
And so when those things come in, man, it's just, well, here we go again. And about the time we finish with one investigation, there's another one right there behind it.
Do you think, what do you see as, how do I want to ask this? So it's always probably been, and that makes sense. Family, different things, right? And sexual predators, or, this is not new. I mean, society's been around for a long time. Now it's being reported more. Now it's being attended to better. Do you see it? Is there any results that come out of that you've seen that positive? Because that's a problem. because what happens, right? If it's children, then that's affecting their entire life and probably going to be on that scale as they grow up because
Yeah.
it carries on, right? Do
Absolutely.
you see any changes, or is it?
No, and one of the things that is the biggest change is the creation of multidisciplinary teams, and so we will take. We have a group of people. Each county has one. Most of the counties have one. I don't know if they've all have one in place yet, but we've had ours in place for a number of years now. So we have the district attorney's office, we have DHS, we have healthcare providers, we have law enforcement, all three law enforcement agencies here in town. The school, we have counselors, we have.
Wait! All three law enforcement agencies? You've got the police, the sheriff.
We have two police departments. We have one in Granite and one in Maine.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so we meet monthly to discuss these cases so that they don't fall by the wayside. So they don't get swept under the rug. They don't go by the wayside. And you also have the district attorney's offices have victims advocates
In their
office. And I'll tell you, if I could afford it, man, I'd put one in our office because they are so vitally important to getting those people, the victims, the help that they need, whether that be counseling, resources, setting up appointments for a counselor, setting up appointments for doctors, setting up resources to come in, relocating families or whatever, finding them, and doing what's best so the impact. Listen, I'm a victim. I was physically abused, sexually abused as a kid, and so it's huge.
I was too.
In how I want to see that handled, and there's a lot of things that are non-negotiable for me. That's one of them, and it's another reason we've kind of stirred a lot of stuff with our registered sex offenders. Man, I send my guys out to do regular compliance checks, and if you're not where you're supposed to be, I'm going to file
Where they are.
Yeah.
Where they are in the county.
Absolutely. I'm going to file the paperwork on you, and you're going to come right back to jail. Because you know what? And I've seen it too often. A sheriff will say, "Oh yeah, I know you. You go over here and you can live there with whoever." But what happens if something happens to a 4-year-old girl that lives down the road? Whose hands is that on?
Yeah.
Right here. And I'm not going to take that responsibility. And you know what? We're going to follow that statute, and we're going to do what it says to do, and you're going to do what it says that you're supposed to do. And if you're not, then you're going to have to answer for it.
Wow. Hey, let me ask you this. So there's a lot of elderly people in this. I'll get back to the questions here in a minute, folks. There's a lot of elderly people in this county, in this town, in the area, which is interesting. I think a higher number than the national average in a community. Is elder abuse an issue out here at all? Do you ever have those kind of things happen?
Yeah, we have a lot
lot because nationally it's
yeah, absolutely.
Big deal.
And not only that, but extortion or utilizing their funds for other things, neglect. And so that, all of that kind of falls underneath that same umbrella.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, it happens a lot.
That's I better behave. I don't want to get any of these people because I'm getting into that elderly stage here, and it's not going to go backwards at all. Hey, would you read what Ariel says here?
Yeah, great show, great guests, great conversation. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you, Ariel. I appreciate that. So we already talked about that one. I'm skipping around a little bit here. But what's the biggest concern from local residents today? We're talking about in general stuff here, but what do you hear most? Like I've talked to the police department and they want to get a community sheriff cop. Yeah. So, trains as a cop, does all the things that could be a cop, but really they're about answering questions. And sometimes people don't want to talk to police directly. They may have an argument, an issue, or a question, and maybe they're in trouble or this or that. And so they're developing something. I just heard a little bit about it. But what have you heard from people? I'm sure you talk just like anybody else you hear. what are people in town and really the county, the different cities that you guys, 600 and so odd square miles, what do you hear is the biggest concern from local residents?
Well, they want to know that, and my constituents cover the entire county. So the 2,800 people or whatever it is that are in Mangum, and the 1,500 or whatever in Granite, as well as the rest of the citizens across the county. Those are my constituents, and yes. So it's what affects the people in Mangum is not necessarily what affects the people in Granite. It's not what affects, and so it's a wide range. Out in the county, they want to know that somebody's going to be there within a timely manner if they need them. They want to know that somebody's out patrolling. And I don't have the budget to put somebody out 24 hours a day. I just don't. But you know what? I've got more people out there than we've ever had in the past.
That's awesome.
And they want to know that their kids are safe when they're at school. You know what? I believe that they are. Is there an instance that something like what took place at Pauls Valley a few weeks ago with the former student that walked into the school with a gun? Could happen. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And
say that again. Where was this at?
Pauls Valley, just in the center part of the state. A former student walked into the school and ended up shooting the principal. The principal tackled him, and the principal got shot in the leg.
I've seen that on TV. Yeah, is that the one I've seen on TV?
Yeah.
That was here in Oklahoma?
Yeah.
That dude's a hero, man.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best guys around, and he's...
Wow, he got shot.
He got shot in the leg, yeah. Right? Yeah, and then they turned around and he got out of the hospital, and they turned around and made him prom king. And so
they did. Yeah. They did. I didn't hear that. Oh, that's awesome.
And so those types of things there's always a chance of that taking place, but you try to prevent it, and so you put in those measures. And our deputies work with the school as far as making sure that doors are locked, and we have a panic system that they can alert the teachers and staff can alert, and it sends it to the law enforcement officers. And we have training that we're providing. In fact, at the end of the summer, we have a state mandated laser training that for an active shooter course that we're hosting. Training? Yeah, it's an acronym, and but it has to do with active shooters, not just in schools, but anywhere. But we're going to host it. We're going to host it here, and we're going to send.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a lot. In fact, I'll see about getting you out there. You can be one of the bad guys.
I'll do that. I'll even carry. I'll try and figure out something to put on my head and video it.
And so, but
are they going to shoot me? Hold on.
Yeah.
Will I get tased?
No, you won't get tased. Just airsoft.
And, okay, I can do that. I can do airsoft. My son used to beat me up with those all the time.
There you go. It's training that it's mandated by the state, but man, it's training that we want to make sure that our guys have, not just our guys, but every agency in our area, and so we're working on trying to bring that here. That's set up towards the end of July, right before school starts, and so we're excited about that, and so. For each area, county, Granite, Mangum, it just varies. They want to know that they're safe at night. That people, they want to feel like there's somebody that's going to be there. And crime doesn't go to bed at 2:00 in the morning.
That's when it really happens. What do they say? Nothing good happens after midnight.
Exactly. I was out last night until 2:00. And drove around here in town and encountered people walking down the road and had a couple of stops in there and visited with people and of course I visit with people everywhere I go, whether it be at the restaurant or church or ball games or whatever, and so try to stay on the pulse of what they really are concerned about.
Wow. Hey, didn't something like that happen in town? Got like 4 or 5 months ago. There was something at the school that they were concerned that there was maybe a predator.
Yeah, and we had a guy show up at the school, and he was very quickly apprehended.
That's what I heard.
He was over at the high school gym.
He was trying to
He had walked over to the high school, couldn't get in. They wouldn't let him in over there. And as the school resource, as my deputy got there, he was walking away down the road towards the gym, and I think they had the gym door open. They were practicing or whatever, and so he actually walked into the basketball gym. And anyway, was escorted off the property by our deputy.
So that lines up perfectly here. How important are school resource officers now? How important is that? Because you have them here and in Granite, right?
Yeah.
Granite, right? So
very important. Yeah, very important.
What does that look like? What are their day-to-day? Obviously, they're interacting with the kids. What do they do on it? What's a day in the life of a resource officer?
Oh man,
what are your
lots of stickers, candy, and high fives. This is what people like to think. But you know,
that's what I imagine.
Watching traffic, making sure that the kids are safe. We've got a pretty interesting situation with one of our school buildings. It's got some younger kids in it, but in order for them to eat lunch and breakfast, they have to walk across the street, you know. And
is that the dude that pulled? Because
yeah,
and he parks
to
block that street as they're walking by, right?
Yeah. That's Deputy McClintock. He's the school resource officer here at Mangum, and so you know they interact with the kids in the hallways, with the staff. They're constantly working with staff and administration. They may handle a situation, whether it be, you know, fights or, you know, there's, believe it or not, there's, you know, they get calls from teachers about, we talked about, you know, a mandated referral or, you know, reporting. And so when a teacher sees a kid that has been abused or whatever, you know, that's one of the first calls that they make. And so, and there's ways, there's interview situations that you want them to be handled the right way. And so they've done a lot of training with the schools and the teachers and the faculty there to make sure that those are done. And it's so much more. Back in the day when I did it, that's what it was, man. It was high-fiving kids and passing out, you know, stickers or whatever, and teaching the DARE program. And that will be what McClintock is doing next year. He'll have that opportunity after he finishes.
Oh, he's going into the DARE program.
Yeah.
Oh, great guy.
And
talked to him a bunch. A few.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they do all the after school functions. You know, the ball games, the football games, softball games, basketball games. They're there to make sure. I mean, let's face it. You know, we as parents, you know, we don't always conduct ourselves the best at the ball games. You know, and so somebody's going to end up being riled up, you know, and so having somebody there is very helpful.
I've heard of that. I've never got over emotional at a game at all ever in my life, but I've heard that happen.
My daughter, my oldest daughter, Elizabeth, she's 24 now, fixing to be 25, and she was a state track athlete, and she ran hurdles and went to competed in college as well, and so I was that guy, you know. I was standing there yelling, screaming, you know, hooping and hollering for her. You know, I was the crazy one.
Absolutely. Hey, you know what I've noticed, and I'm assuming you don't have a lot of problem with the kids in town. They grow up differently here. Like I've never been called sir more in my life. I bet you I've been called sir 10,000 times more than I've ever been called sir ever in my life before. And I've held positions that, you know, I've run companies and so forth. Are the kids here built? I don't know if you can really relate. Well, Oklahoma's some bigger towns, but I think this whole part of the country grows up differently than, say, in Chicago. I've never had. Kids don't even look at you on the streets, or, you know, it's a different relationship. Here, kids are like, hey, how you doing? I walk my dogs a lot. They love my dogs. You know, you don't get that anywhere else. Are the kids here, in your opinion, are they built a little better than other places in the country?
And we've got some of the best. You know, I'll just say that, you know. We do. We have some of the best, and and some of that is going to be because of and I know as a whole education in Oklahoma, is dogged because we're like 50th in the country and whatnot. But I would say that our teachers are a big part of that. Not on the 50th being
Really?
in education. I'm saying they are a big part in molding those kids that way. And shout out to the teachers, and not just them, but man, the support staff, the lunch ladies, the janitors, and they invest in those kids, they every day. And so wherever the hang up is that puts us at the 50th level, for education, I don't know where that's it. I'm not a teacher, so I don't know. I'd have to divert to my wife on that. But I do know that you won't find better people to invest into. Yeah, you're going to have a bad apple every once in a while, just like in every profession, even in law enforcement. We've had them here, and so, but you won't find a better group of people than teachers in Oklahoma to invest in the lives of their students. I say that because I've had them invest in my life. I mean, I had a kindergarten teacher that was in my life till I was like 14, 15 years old. And then later on in life, I was walking through a store back home in McAllister, and I looked up and I was like, man, that lady looks familiar. And I was walking right towards her, and she looked at me and she's like, and after I saw her, I realized who she was. I walked up to her and I said, "You're Sharon Lefevers, aren't you?" And she said, "Yeah." "You're Steve McMahan." And I said, "Absolutely." And she said, "I knew you." She said, "I knew it was you." She said, "You were walking towards me." And I thought to myself, this man thinks he knows me. I was probably 35 at the time. And she's like, this man thinks he knows me. And she said, and then I saw your eyes and I knew immediately who you were. And, and that woman had such a huge impact on my life, huge impact. And so she's, living in Eastern Oklahoma. I don't even know if she's still alive. That was, 11 years ago. But she was a vital part of why, she would come pick me up, and when I was like 12 years old. We moved back, and I was a military kid. My stepdad was in the Air Force, and so we lived overseas in Incirlik Air Force Base in Turkey. And so when we moved back to the States, she came pick me up and would take me to Brahms and get ice cream or whatever. She was invested in her kids, and I see that in teachers still today.
That's awesome. Now we talked to a curious Mangamite is back on asking another question. Still haven't given us your name, young person or whoever you are, but we were talking about this earlier a little bit. But it's an interesting question. You speak of physical altercations, right? Which is pretty common, I'm sure. This is he or her speaking. What yearly fitness requirements are important to your department? I love that question.
Yeah, and it's a great question, and there are every agency is different, and and of course the state has a level that you have to be at when you first get started, and what I was 24 years ago, I am not that today, unfortunately, and so we have had to try to maintain and try to redo some stuff and basically begin some things, and we would love to have that requirement. You have to do this or this, and it's just you're going to run the risk of losing people. And as long as you're capable of doing
also, you got to really balance that out.
Yeah, especially out here. Especially out here. I mean,
it's the same thing. You have limited resources.
Yeah.
And meeting people. There's not 20,000 people.
Yeah. And it's like Frank Bone. Frank has been doing this for 46 years. And of course his job's a little bit different. Is there a chance that he could come across something? Absolutely. There's a chance that I could come across something, or any one of my staff members. But if there's a point to where you can't do the job, or I feel like you can't do the job, then we're going to have that conversation. But as far as an actual, set requirement, I laugh because, and I don't know if my former sheriff is watching this over at McLean County, but when I interviewed with him, I told him, I was like, look, I don't know what the department's requirement is, but I'm not going to run a mile and a half after somebody. I'm going to get in the truck and I'm going to drive after them, you know? And so it's little stuff like that, you know, but
Sure.
You got to try to be the best version of yourself. And there's, you know, of course, everybody's got health concerns, health issues that we battle with, you know, and I think I mentioned to you in the green room, you know, back in COVID, you know, COVID wrecked my world. It really did. I was in the ICU for a month, and I had given up. I did fine until we had to start wearing a mask, and then I got double pneumonia. Ended up in the hospital, and 5 days in the hospital. Woke up one morning, alarms going off, people in my room I'd never seen before, and they had to create a room out of a nurse's office in another hospital, transport me over there, and I was in that ICU room for in an internal room. I didn't see the sun for over a month, and and I had given up. I wrote my own funeral. It's still in my phone. And then I called my mom and I said, hey, I don't want Liz and Ashton to have to worry about doing this stuff. So just tell her that my funeral stuff is on my phone. And she hung up on me. And I thought that was very rude, you know. And so then I called my brother and told him, and he said he would give her the information. But I didn't want them having to plan that stuff out. I'd given up, and even the doctors told her, said, hey, you know what? We've done everything we can. And I was adamant. I was not going to be innovative. I did not want to have a tube. You know, I didn't want to, I don't. You'd be 17. I don't know. You know, we have numbers that always stick with us. And my magic number is 17. And I you know, 17,000 trucks out here, 17, you know, 17 million reports to do or whatever. 17 is my number.
Yeah.
And you know, everything after that might be the exaggeration, but 17 is locked in because that's how many beds I saw wheeled by my room as people died. And so
17 just over that month.
Over that month, yes. And I gave up. I quit. And the doctor said, you know what? He's either going to turn the corner or he's not. And then one day it happened. I turned the corner and it was a long road. Man, I was on max. I had a cannula and air. I was like 90% flow, 60. I don't know all the numbers. My wife would be so much better at that. Anyways, but for months after I got out of the hospital, I would wake up with night terrors because I felt like I was still in the hospital. I'd wake up in the middle of the night thinking that I was still there. And so battled PTSD with that. And I went and I took EMDR therapy, the eye movement therapy. And man, it changed my world. It really did. And I still utilize a lot of stuff that I learned from that today, just because, and I think I said something about, you know, I will forget something as we're talking about it because that's how my mind does. And so I keep a lot of notes. My sticky notes have sticky notes, and they have sticky notes on my desk. But you know, COVID wrecked my world, and not just on that side of it, but the physical side of it too. And ever since then, it's been a completely different world for me. You know, my wife and my daughter, man, they were rock stars. My mom. They would not give up. They kept praying. And then I'll never forget when I was finally released from the hospital, Ashton pulled up there at the hospital and nurse wheels me out there in the wheelchair. And I said, I'm not going to get in the truck. I said, I can't get in the truck. And she said, why not? I said, because you parked too close to that little concrete barrier right there. I can't open the door. And so she had to get in. She was so excited. She wasn't even paying attention where she was parking. So.
Let's talk about, go back to funding a little bit.
Yeah,
This actually came in earlier, and I didn't get to it, but how difficult is law enforcement with limited funding. You talked about having to be creative. Let's add some more colors between the layers on that.
Yeah. I said we have 20 employees. I've got 7 deputies. I've got some reserves that work for free. They just volunteer their time, but I get grants. I have to get grants. In my time here, we've gotten over $1 million in grants.
Wow.
That money has paid for vehicles.
Wow.
For our patrol vehicles, it's paid for a state-of-the-art fingerprint machine. That's digital. Man, 4 years ago, we were still writing ink, and so we've got a fingerprint machine in here that does digital prints.
Oh, that's huge.
We just purchased a drone that will help us with search and rescue and recovery and stuff along those lines.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah, and it's got a camera on it that is out of this world.
Wow.
And we launched it the other day.
And that was from a grant.
That was from a grant, yeah. And we recently got some less lethal resources for our deputies to use, tasers, and as well as we're just put in an order for body cams to utilize as well. Some of that grant money is paid for, like I said, the environmental deputy. Pays for the deputy that works at night. Paid for.
Who writes your grants? Do you guys do it in house?
I do.
You write the grant. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about that later because I'd like to do a man on the street thing and get a little conversion van set up with a camera and go around all over Mangum, not just Mangum, but all over Greer County, and further into Oklahoma. And like we did at the Rattlesnake, be able to do that kind of thing. I'll have to ask you if something I could figure something out to make that work. So you've gotten literally $1 million+ worth of lot of grant money keeps this town alive, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
One just shy of $1.1 million in grants.
Wow.
In 4 years. And
in 4 years.
In 4 years, and then you add to that, the contracts with the other counties for jail for inmates.
Sure.
And so this year alone, it's been very crucial for us to have that. A few years ago, the state did a grant program and basically broke up the counties and mainly the sheriff's offices into 3 categories. You have your top tier, your largest counties, and then I say largest. It has nothing. It's not really just about population. It's also about your revenue or your taxable valuation. So you have your top tier, your middle tier, and so your top tier gets like $350,000 a year. Your middle tier gets $250,000, or maybe it's $300,000, $250,000, and then our tier, we're right there at the next to the bottom, and it is we get $150,000 a year from the state. And when it was originally written, and I did a lot of work along with all the other 76 county sheriffs, man, talking to our elected officials, our senators, our.
Is that what there is? 76 counties in
77 counties
in Oklahoma.
Yeah, 77 counties, and so we did a lot of work and a lot of talking with senators and representatives, and in fact, Darrell Weaver is running for lieutenant governor. He was one of them, and that really kind of spearheaded that, and we're very thankful for that. And it was originally written.
Do you have his contact information? By the way,
Yep.
trying. Do you?
Yeah,
I'll
get it.
Do you
I'll
mind
get it to you.
text me or something?
Yeah.
The information. I want to get it on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And then John Eccles, the Attorney General candidate, is another one that was very crucial in acquiring those things. And so we had a lot of conversations, a lot of things. And originally that bill was written to help pay for funding for salaries. And the state, there was some legislators that said, we don't feel like we need to pay the salary for employees who aren't ours. you know, and I understand that to a point, but it's my deputies that are out here working the state highways. It's my deputies that are going answering calls out at the state park. It's my deputies and my detention deputies that are holding state inmates, you know. And so it's no, we're not your employees, but at the same time, we're doing the functions that you put on us, you know.
Absolutely.
So, but they rewrote it so that we can have $150,000 in maintenance and operations. And what that does is it frees up other money that we would normally have locked in on other stuff.
You say that way, but I mean, I'm looking at the numbers through my, you know, just running through my head. The actual budget you guys have to work on is only like a quarter of what you actually are operating on, you know, as far as the grants and the other inmates from other counties and so forth. I mean, this department, your department would be nothing like it is.
Oh yeah,
just worked off of what the city could afford to pay.
Yeah,
as a budget, it's nothing. It's a quarter, something like that.
We couldn't do it. I mean, absolutely could not do it.
No, not at all.
You know, and it would. In fact, we do an estimate of needs every year when we prepare our budget, and so every elected official says, "Hey, this is what we need." And so I turn that in every year, and I know, and I'm not going to get that because it's just not there. You know, that's
all over. That the library goes through the same thing, and
exactly.
obviously.
And could it be a little more? Yeah, probably. You know, but at the same time, I can either use that as an excuse, or I can use that to make me drive it to make it even better. You know, and that's kind of what I said. You know, just because we're the second poorest county doesn't mean we have to work that way. Yeah. And I tell you right now, if it was, like I said, if it was just William and I, guess what? Right now, it would just be me because William's out on medical leave. You know? And so
and he's going to be a couple of weeks.
Yeah. He doesn't like that thought, but he's going to be, you know. And if I have to, you know, have Michelle chain him down at the house, but
I don't know how well that would work. You know, the both of them. They're hilarious, those two. He's obnoxious to Michelle. What changes are you most proud of since 2023?
Oh man, there's so many.
There
really is. There's so many that just the growth of the staff. You know, seeing the impact that they've made on this community. You know, and continue to make. Our jail. You know, it continues to, knock on wood, you know, it's functioning. I've got one of the best jail administrators in the state. He's a former DOC warden, and I brag on him all the time, every chance I get, even though he's standing in the other room right now, and I know he can hear me, but, you know, I brag on him even when he's not here, but he does a great job.
He was the state warden?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So he brings a lot of experience.
Absolutely. He retired, and I had the opportunity to bring him on, and he's done a great job. I couldn't have asked for a better person. In fact, my supervisors, William, and then I've got a dispatch supervisor, Rachel, and then Chad runs our jail. And if it wasn't for those three people, man, my job would be a whole lot more difficult.
Yeah, so that's probably the most important thing, is to have support.
Yeah.
That takes stuff off takes stuff, you know, that you're not as. It's great to have people who are better at what they do than you would be. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's why I said, you know, I'm the least. I have the least training hours of every person in this department, because I do what's mandated, what I have to do, and I send everybody else to everything.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Hey, I got a couple comments for you to read. We have one more question and a few comments here. Okay. So you're going to be doing more talking here in a second. So let's go here. Why don't you read what Dixon Root talks here?
Sorry, I was given a note.
Hey, do you have somebody in the office there with you that's typing or something? I can hear clicks on the keyboard.
Yeah, his keys. He just got back from a transport. I'm sorry. I'm doing this, but I'm still working. He was just giving me a heads up on something.
Are you good? Are you
Yeah,
good?
no, we're good. We're good.
Okay. Okay.
So Dixon said, Sheriff McMahan speaks with real honesty and leadership, and that's the only way I know to be.
All right. So this was a typo. We're going to go to
Okay.
correct it. Terry, read that, would you?
The SROs are doing great with the kids, and I appreciate that, and I feel like the school staff has validated that time and time again. We have great conversations with the teachers and the faculty there, and
I've heard a lot about them.
Yeah, they're doing a great job.
All right, next one, Hannah.
Thank you for your support and
you know Hannah, right? You know.
Yeah.
All right, and this person still hasn't given us their name, but how do you navigate all the complexities of working with multiple agencies? We've talked about multiple agencies you're doing different things with. How do you deal with those complexities? How important is it to build strong relations? We've already talked about this as well, but those relationships, I mean, that's the reason you're getting some of the budget. The shortfall that would exist is being helped out through some of those relationships because you've dealt with people.
Oh yeah, and so it is very complex because there's a difference between the sheriff's office and a police department, you know.
Right. So talk about that. What is the difference?
So the difference is, and I joke around about it because my wife got me a nameplate for my office, and it's actually I don't know if I can get it in there, but anyway, it's actually you can't read it, but it's
is it that
like right up there. It's a little bitty thing, and it says the sheriff's department on it, you know, and I was just joking around that said it's actually sheriff's office. So she got the same one that it says sheriff's office, you know, but it's an office. It's not mine. I'm just filling this position, and in every 4 years. Last time I ran, I was sheriff for a year. I ran unopposed.
Is that what it is? 4-year terms?
4-year term.
Sheriff? Okay.
Yeah. And so
so next year you're going to be running again.
No. I was actually sheriff for 1 year, and then I ran unopposed. So I've already had one election.
Okay. So you've got another election. Okay, 2 years. Gotcha. Go ahead. Sorry.
And so every 4 years, I have to. The voice of the people are the ones that choose who fills this spot.
Yep.
And so the best way that I've heard that explained is you know what? Every 4 years, the people decide whether or not they want me to continue to be their voice.
Sure.
And so I treat it with great honor. And I think I said this in the green room. There's 2 titles that nobody will ever be able to take away from me. And the first one is dad. Nobody's ever going to be able to take that title away from me. My kids, I love my kids. They are my world. And nobody will ever be able to take away the title of sheriff, you know. And I walk into these doors and I put on the badge every day that I come in, and I do it with honor, and I try to do it with the highest level of integrity and character. Because every 4 years, and it goes right back to what I said that I tell my staff: remember what my name is, because it's your name too. And if at any time during that 4 years people decide that they don't want that, then it's going to show in that election. And I would love nothing more than to retire here doing this. You know, I've got a few years to make that happen. But several.
You got more than a few years, buddy. You're not that old. Don't be talking to yourself being old, man. I got a number of years on you.
I would love to get the new facility paid off and be able to retire at that point. Oh. That's my goal. Now, whether or not, but anyways, going back to the difference between the two, I'm voted in. A police chief is not. There might be 5 across the state of Oklahoma that are still elected.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but most police chiefs are hired by a city manager or a board, and so they answer to
commissioners. I think hire them.
Yeah, right? A police chief answers to 4 people. I answer to a whole county, and so this is an office just like the office of a senator or a representative, and I firmly believe that it's not mine, it's the people's, and I am just occupying it, and I am trying to do so with it. I come in every day. I want to make sure that when I leave here, that it's in better shape than when I found it. And I can honestly say that if I walked out of here today, never to come back, that I've done that.
That's awesome. Speaking of which, Scott Paxton has written something here that I think you'll be very happy to read.
No, that's another
Read
one.
it out loud.
That's another one of my school resource officers.
Yep.
He said, I'm so very thankful for Steve and what he represents for this county. I've worked with this man for over 20 years and I couldn't consider myself any more blessed to call him my boss and my friend. And that means a lot to me.
That's huge, dude. That's obviously saying that out loud is a big thing, and it's always nice to hear. But it's great that relationship, just what you talked about over the last 2 hours. We're literally coming up on 2 hours here, and all those same people are still here. So it's obvious that the relationships you built, and we talked about relationships earlier on a couple of different times. What you built here is something pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got another question here from the Curious Mangamite. Would you please give us your name, whoever you are? Is the sheriff department fully staffed? Question. Are all positions filled? Question. I believe I've heard a new deputy has been hired, and I know a new police officer was just hired. I was at the council when they swore him in. What's the background on the deputy?
So we are.
There's 3 questions. 1, 2, 3. Actually, 4 or 5 questions.
Yeah. So I'll try to go through those just one by one, and it's a pretty difficult way to answer it actually, because is the sheriff's department fully staffed? Yes, because I only get a budget for 2 people, and so technically
That's
everything else. That's the staff. That's what I have. That's what I have a budget for.
What would be without overdoing it? What would be a perfect number? 4, 7, 6.
Yeah, that would be my ideal number. Would be
so
6.
Technically, yes,
I'm there,
staff, but not really.
But not really, because so for example, I have 7, 2 of which are school resource officers. Yep. So they are mandated because of a mutual aid agreement with the schools to be there. It's not like I can utilize them a whole lot out in the county, Right. Now over the summer I do, from time to time when they're not.
That's true.
And so there's that. And then I have my DEQ officer. There's certain things that he has, certain requirements.
DEQ.
The Department of Environmental Quality, Frank.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, the environmental deputy. And so there's certain areas that he has to work and touch on, and so fully staffed? No, we're not fully staffed, because I still have a lot of time period where I would like to have somebody out patrolling, and we just don't have that budget. The sheriff is responsible for courthouse security. I don't have somebody. The sheriff is, I don't have a budget for that. I'm working on some stuff, trying to get some ideas there. The sheriff's responsible for transports. And so, the sheriff is responsible for running the jail. The sheriff's responsible for patrolling and being in court for different stuff, all for 2 people. And it's impossible. You can't do it.
Everything you just described is what the sheriff's responsible for doing. You only have 2 people to do all of those things.
Yeah. Wow. And if it wasn't for grants and contracts and working with, then you wouldn't be able to, and so having the ability to do what we do and have the people that we have, man, I'm blessed, because I would literally be pulling my hair out, trying to get all that stuff done.
So in the second part of that question, is there a new deputy being hired, or what is that?
No.
I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, I don't have any new deputies. I've got reserve deputies that work from time to time, but they've all been on with us already, and so I don't have any new guys that are starting. It's very difficult for us to, like the city departments. They have the ability to hire somebody that's not already certified, and go ahead and work them until they are certified. We don't have that opportunity. We have it's a little bit bigger of a constraints around our stuff, and so they have to be certified before they're turned out on their own. And so if I hire somebody that's not certified, then I've got to put them with somebody else. So now I'm paying two people to do one job, and and then I've got to send them off to training, and now I've got that. And
what is that training? Is that the same that the police go through?
Yeah. The cleat. Yeah. It's the same. It's grown over the years. I'm very thankful I don't have to go through it now, because that back then it was 8 weeks, and so I'm one of the old timers, and all these new guys that are coming out of cleat, they have a 6-digit number, ID number, and mine's 5, and so I used to. In fact, I joke around with Frank Bone, and it's like, hey, what's your cleat number? 2,
That's what I was going to guess. Sorry, Frank.
And so, but no, we don't have a new deputy. I do have 2 reserves that are going through the reserve cleat up in. They have an academy going on up at Cordell.
Where is it?
It's in Cordell, up in Washita County, about 45 miles away. Gotcha. And so they're actually doing that, and they'll, like I said, they'll be volunteering, but they do that, and they won't finish it until like September, October. And then I require them to.
They have to stay there. They stay there, right?
No, not on this one.
Go back and forth?
It's just like 2 or 3 days a week.
Oh,
gotcha. And so, because it's just a reserve, it's not a full certification.
True. Gotcha.
And so, but then I require them to do an FTO program that is a full year long. They have to ride with somebody for a year before they're ever turned out on their own, because. You're getting 3 days a week, 2 days a week training there, but then you have to come back here and learn how we're doing our paperwork. We want to make sure that and I only require them to work 2 shifts a month. If they want to do more than they can, but they're only required to do 2 shifts. Well, you can't get all the training you need in 2 shifts, and so I make them ride with somebody for a full year before they're ever able to kind of go out on their own.
Interesting. All right, so I've got. First of all, this is the correct contact information. I know that because
yes,
you and I have already exchanged contact information. So I'm going to have you read one more comment and then go into a close.
Okay.
Like, what do you want to leave people with? Your 700 fans here. What do you want to leave as a lasting thought? But first, read this question from Curious Mangan.
Fantastic interview. His heart is really for the community. I appreciate that. I don't know any other way to be. I'm here to serve, and that's the only way that's how I was raised. And
my brother, what do you want to leave everybody with as a final thought? As I set something up, I'm going to put you on stage.
Okay. Yeah. And I think that one thing that I'd just really like to leave everybody with is, we need to remember that law enforcement in a rural county is different, and we have limited resources, limited things that we have at our disposal. And you know what? We're just people. My deputies are people. We make mistakes, and Lord knows I do. And at the same time, I want to make sure that our office, our agency has accountability, transparency. Have to remain at the center of everything that we do, and I believe that we're doing that, and we're doing it in the right way. And I am very thankful for the opportunity that I have to serve as sheriff, and I hope that in years to come, I'm able to continue to say that. Lord knows, this is all I really know how to do, and if I didn't enjoy it, I would go do something else for sure. But I enjoy doing and this job. I enjoy serving the people of Greer County more than I think anybody could ever understand.
Great show, great discussion. This is going to be a 2-hour and 15-minute show, and I would have never thought. And I'm blessed. I'm honored. I appreciate your time. Why don't you give everybody a big wave? I'll wrap this up and go, and I'll see you in the green room in just a couple of minutes. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, brother. That was an awesome show, dudes. That was fantastic. I appreciate the interaction with people here in town. I talked about in the opening monologue. Just in the last couple of months, we've had 500 people plus come on as subscribers to the show. It's because conversations like this, they matter more than most people realize, as Steve just talked about. Because what we did here today was something that doesn't happen enough anymore. We didn't argue from a distance, right? We didn't reduce things down to headlines or assumptions. We sat down. We listened. And whether you agree with everything or not, awesome questions, by the way. That's not even the point. The point is this. You now have context, more information. You've now heard direct from somebody doing the job. Now you can think a little deeper about this subject. You can ask better questions, see the complexity, and and that's how communities actually move forward, is through those things. Not through noise, but through understanding. And what we're building here together is exactly that. This isn't just a podcast. This is a growing, thinking, as you can tell, engaged community right here in Mangum and far beyond it. And if you're just finding us right now, do us a favor. Do me a favor. Don't judge us by one episode. Go back. Watch a few episodes. You'll see how it all started. And you see how much we've grown. And honestly, you might even laugh at some of the early things. I when I'm bored and I want to get a good chuckle, I watch one of the first shows. I mean, Barbie used to be on the show with me every day. But that's part of it. This has always been about building something real. In real time, conversations like this. Hit subscribe on YouTube. Join us on Substack. Follow along all the platforms that we stream on. And if you want to support what we're building here, grab us a cup of coffee on Ko-Fi, Ko-Fi. Buy us a cup of coffee. It keeps the lights on, man. That helps more than you ever know. And this thing moving forward, but more than anything, share this episode. Because someone you know, I guarantee it, probably has an opinion about law enforcement. I got a lot of them in when people were finding out we were doing the show, but hasn't had a conversation like this. And that's where this starts to matter. So until tomorrow, keep thinking, keep asking, and keep showing up to the conversation. We'll see you next time. I'm Rodd Duff, alongside producer Barbie. And like I always say at this moment on every single show, we're out of here.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Think what you know.